Have you ever wondered how everything around us might one day come to an end? The stars above us, the planets that orbit them, even the very fabric of time and space itself, all of it is not permanent. The universe, vast and endless as it seems, had a beginning. And like all things that begin, it must also face an ending. Scientists may not agree on when or how this ending will happen, but they all agree on one fact: the universe cannot last forever. This thought is both terrifying and fascinating, because it forces us to look beyond our daily lives and imagine the final chapter of everything that exists. We know the universe had a beginning. Around 13.8 billion years ago, everything we see today, stars, planets, galaxies, even space and time itself, came from one single, powerful event we call the Big Bang. From that moment, the universe has been expanding, stretching out wider and wider, creating room for galaxies to move farther apart. This discovery changed the way we understand reality. It showed us that the universe is not eternal. It is not fixed. It has a story, with a beginning, a middle, and, eventually, an ending. For a long time, people believed the sky was unchanging, that the stars above us would shine forever. But science revealed a different truth. Just like living things, the universe is dynamic. It is constantly moving, evolving, and heading toward a future that cannot be stopped. The question is not whether the universe will end, but what kind of ending it will face. This is where things become both exciting and unsettling. Physicists and cosmologists have proposed several theories, each one painting a different picture of the final days of existence. Some describe a slow fading into darkness, others imagine a violent collapse, and some predict the very fabric of space tearing apart. None of these endings are certain, but all of them remind us of one powerful idea: everything we know is temporary, even the universe itself. One of the most widely accepted ideas about how the universe will end is called the Big Freeze, also known as heat death. To understand this, imagine the universe as a fire that has been burning since the Big Bang. Right now, the fire is still alive with bright stars, glowing galaxies, and endless energy. But every fire, no matter how powerful, eventually burns out. As the universe keeps expanding, galaxies will move farther and farther apart. Over billions and trillions of years, stars will run out of fuel and slowly die. New stars will stop being born because the gas needed to create them will be used up. One by one, the shining lights of the cosmos will go dark. Planets will freeze without their suns, and galaxies will turn into graveyards of dead stars and black holes. But it doesn't stop there. Even black holes, the most powerful objects we know of, won't last forever. Over unimaginable stretches of time, they too will fade away, releasing their energy into the cold emptiness of space. What will remain is a universe that is dark, silent, and cold, where energy is so spread out that nothing new can ever form. The Big Freeze may sound slow and quiet compared to other theories, but in many ways, it's the most chilling. It describes a universe that doesn't end with a bang, but with a whisper, a slow fading of everything into eternal darkness. Life, matter, and even the smallest particles will no longer have the energy to exist in any meaningful way. It is a future of absolute emptiness. Another possibility for the end of the universe is called the Big Crunch. While the Big Freeze imagines the universe expanding forever, the Big Crunch suggests the opposite, that one day, expansion could stop and reverse. Right now, space is stretching, and galaxies are moving away from each other. But some scientists once wondered, what if gravity is strong enough to eventually slow this expansion down? If that happens, the pull of gravity could begin to drag everything back together. Galaxies would stop drifting apart and start moving closer, like a film being played in reverse. Over time, the universe would shrink. Stars, planets, and galaxies would fall toward one another. Distances that once took billions of years to cross would grow smaller and smaller. Temperatures would rise as matter was crushed together, and the night sky would become brighter and more chaotic, filled with colliding galaxies and exploding stars. In the final stages, everything would collapse into an unimaginably dense point, a singularity, similar to how it all began with the Big Bang. Some scientists even speculate that this might not be the true end. The universe could bounce back, exploding again in another Big Bang, starting the cycle of creation and destruction all over again. If true, the universe might not have one single ending, but an infinite loop of births and deaths. The Big Crunch paints a dramatic picture, the universe collapsing under its own weight, undoing billions of years of expansion, and perhaps beginning again. It is a reminder that the same force that builds galaxies, gravity, could also bring everything to a fiery and crushing end. If the Big Crunch imagines the universe being pulled back together, the Big Rip imagines the exact opposite, a universe that is torn apart. This theory comes from something called dark energy, a mysterious force that makes up most of the universe. Scientists don't fully understand it, but they know it is pushing space to expand faster and faster. Instead of slowing down, the expansion is speeding up. Now imagine what happens if this acceleration keeps increasing without limit. At first, galaxies will drift farther and farther apart, so far that their light will never reach each other again. Over time, even galaxies themselves will begin to fall apart. The stars inside them will scatter into the emptiness of space. But the Big Rip doesn't stop there. As the power of expansion grows stronger, it could overcome the gravity that holds solar systems together. Planets would break away from their stars, moons would tear loose from planets, and eventually even stars themselves could be ripped to pieces. In the final stages, the force would become so overwhelming that it would attack the smallest building blocks of matter. Atoms would shatter, and even the particles inside them would be torn apart. The entire universe would dissolve into fragments, ripped apart on every level. The Big Rip is one of the most violent endings scientists have imagined. Instead of fading away like the Big Freeze or collapsing like the Big Crunch, it describes a universe being destroyed piece by piece until nothing remains, not even the tiniest particles. It is the ultimate picture of cosmic destruction. Among all the possible endings, perhaps the most frightening is something called vacuum decay. Unlike the Big Freeze, Big Crunch, or Big Rip, which would unfold over billions or trillions of years, vacuum decay could happen at any moment, suddenly, without warning. To understand this, imagine that our universe is not in its most stable state. Scientists describe space itself as having an energy level, and what we live in now might only be a temporary balance, not the lowest possible one. If that's true, then somewhere in the universe, a tiny bubble of true vacuum could form, a more stable state of reality. If such a bubble ever appeared, it would instantly begin to grow. And here's the terrifying part, it would spread at the speed of light. Nothing could outrun it. Planets, stars, galaxies, everything it touched, would be erased, rewritten into this new state of physics. Even the basic laws of nature, like gravity and time, could change inside this bubble. The scariest part is that we would never see it coming. 1 second, everything would seem normal, and in the next, everything would vanish without a trace. It wouldn't matter how advanced humanity became, or where in the universe life might exist. There would be no escape. This idea may sound like pure science fiction, but it is actually a possibility within modern physics. It reminds us of how fragile reality truly is. While the Big Freeze, Big Crunch, and Big Rip give us time to imagine a distant end, vacuum decay is a reminder that the universe could end not with a slow fade or a violent collapse, but in an instant, silent and unseen. No matter which theory you choose to believe, the slow darkness of the Big Freeze, the crushing weight of the Big Crunch, the violent tearing of the Big Rip, or the sudden silence of vacuum decay, they all lead to the same truth: the universe will not last forever. Everything we see around us, from the smallest grain of dust to the largest galaxy, is temporary. But there is also comfort in this vast perspective. These endings are so far away in time that they make human history seem like the blink of an eye. The universe could continue for trillions of years before any of these scenarios begin. By then, humanity may no longer exist in its current form. We might evolve, spread to other worlds, or even find ways to survive beyond the stars. Or perhaps something entirely new will take our place. What is certain is that the universe has a destiny, and we are lucky enough to exist in a chapter filled with light, warmth, and wonder.